to the BFG podcast. Today I am here with Justin Nelson, the events and communications person with Sky Television. We are here to talk about the landmark deal that was signed with the New Zealand basketball and the NBL. So, welcome, Justin.
Hey, g'day, Blake. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Have you today?
Yeah, great to see you as well. Thank you.
So, just for those who haven't seen it yet, because it was quite extensive, can you tell the people that are watching what's involved, some of the elements of the deal? Just a reminder.
It's a groundbreaking deal for basketball in New Zealand, and specifically for the national basketball leagues. There's the men's league, the women's league, and the 3x3 league as well. And excitingly, for the next 5 years, Sky Sport will obviously be showing a lot of basketball as the partner for all of the broadcasts. But importantly, there's skin in the game, in the trenches, and working alongside basketball in those national leagues with a commercial opportunity that sees Sky partnering the team. So it's very exciting.
And look, I've followed your career a little bit, and I suppose it's quite ironic that the first deal you collaborate on is with your former employers. Do you find that quite ironic?
Oh, look, I think so. There's a little bit of that, and no doubt, some people looking on from the outside will see that. But I can confirm that the planning and certainly the conceptualizing of this agreement has been in the works for quite some time. And it just so happens that late in the piece, I moved from one side of the table to the other side of the table. So it certainly wasn't done in a week, that's for sure. It's been a process. It's been a really exciting process. And, I do have that unique position of having sat on both sides of the table now. So it's been a really great experience for me personally.
It must have been really almost awkward to be on both sides of it, the whole journey.
I look at it as an opportunity. I had an opportunity to listen and learn and actively work on both sides of the table. And what that does is it positions the best possible outcome for everybody involved. And that's a great partnership. That's what partnerships should be. You're in it together. And I think having the unique opportunity to assist in bringing this together and doing so on behalf of both parties, what it's done is ensured that we've got a really strong partnership and a great outcome. We've enjoyed 3 very energetic and exciting years between Sky and Basketball New Zealand, and it's great that that's now going to continue for the next 5 years at least.
And I suppose it's good for the fans too to have something to watch while they're still in this transition period of the traffic light system, what just comes into effect today at the time of this recording. So there'll be a lot of action for the fans to watch. Not only that, there's over 300 games free to air on a live TV over the is it the year or duration of the deal? I believe it's the duration, right?
Well, there's 300 games approximately per year within the NBL. Now, some of that will be available free to air. Some of that obviously is also available through your various subscriptions with Sky Sport. So there's different platforms and ways in which you can watch the NZ NBL. I think excitingly for basketball fans in general, though, especially at a time when the game is exploding positively at grassroots level. I mean, the participation numbers are quite extraordinary. the great thing for basketball fans is being a part of the Sky family. You know, you get to see NBA, WNBA, the Australian NBL with the Breakers, the New Zealand National Basketball League, you know, NCAA. There's just so much basketball content year round now. And for all of those, you know, those Sky subscribers and those that do follow the Sky channels, you're going to be able to see a lot of basketball.
Now, if I may ask you a couple of questions in regards to for your older job title, how and how the progress that you're leaving, because I'm sure most of that was in production, in discussion or production when you were there. So, how do you think in terms of the NBL? How do you think that the new partnership with the Auckland team, with the Tuataras as their like sister club, how does it benefit the league?
Well, I think you can't beat it if you can't see it. So, you know, just the fact that there's that visual presence of the game, a partnership like this means that the fans, the viewers, those who are casually connected to the game, basketball's the number one muck around sport for young people in New Zealand. There's a lot of people that pick up a basketball and just head down the park or to a school and, you know, throw some hoops with their mates. Just the chance that they're going to be able to, you know, view and see the elite level in this country. You know, people that maybe went to the same school as them, that live around the corner from them, that grew up in the same region or town as them. You know, what we have seen for our men and women, and this deal is really going to shine a spotlight on that even more, is that so many of these players are coming through the ranks and going on to college basketball, going into the Australian NBL or WNBL or other parts of the world, you know, playing around different basketball leagues globally. So, you know, this opportunity and this partnership is going to ensure that we get to see a lot more of our homegrown talent, including those from Auckland and all different parts of the country.
And folding it back into your new job, do you hope this enables other sports to have sister or brother clubs with the taking names of other clubs? So, like, for example, we have, I think it's the Wasp in the UK with the rugby, and then the netball, and a few other examples. Do you hope that that can become a regular occurrence for us here in New Zealand?
I think it's natural evolution, Blake. I mean, if people haven't picked it up by now, you know, I'm originally from Australia and been here in New Zealand for the last 3 years, and you know, there has been an evolution of sports duopolies in Australia for quite some time now, and I think that we're about to see that evolve here in New Zealand. And as you mentioned, the Tuatara is one great example of that. In cross-coding or cross-sharing sports, there has been a real move over the last 10 to 20 years in Australia for that. And obviously, we all learn from the biggest and the best, and that's in the USA, where you know, there are ownerships that have shares, stakes, or full ownership in different teams in different sports. I think it is going to be a natural evolution that we see here in New Zealand, and basketball is one of those sports. You know, there's 10 men's franchises, the new revamped women's league, and that was a big part of that announcement with Sky. You know, there's going to be 5 franchises there. There's 20 teams that play in the 3x3. Basketball probably lends itself in New Zealand to being a sport that other sporting businesses can invest in. It wouldn't surprise me if over the next few years we see, you know, a Super Rugby team maybe own an NBL team, men, women, whatever it may be. I think you're going to see more of that evolve over the next few years. It's a fairly common thing that we see in other parts of the world now. On top of that, don't be surprised if we see sporting businesses offshore from other parts of the world invest and purchase or own parts of or all of sporting franchises here in New Zealand. The English Premier League have been very prevalent, some of those teams, in owning other football teams around the world. So to answer your question, Blake, yes, I think we're going to see more of it in the future.
So, moving on to that groundbreaking new women's competition, how, in your opinion, how groundbreaking is it for this to happen?
Oh, look, it's the most pivotal moment in women's basketball in New Zealand's history of the game. There's no question of that. My most immediate role before coming to New Zealand was as GM of one of the pro women's teams in the Australian WNBL. So I know, just the amount of hard work that goes into elevating and shining a spotlight on that competition and on women's basketball. And importantly, it takes vision, it takes investment, and it takes a real dedication to push the product forward. And what we've done and seen with this partnership between Sky and Basketball New Zealand, the NBL, is we've seen a real commitment to revamping, relaunching, and reinvigorating women's basketball, not only for 2022, but for many years into the future. It's important that everyone, all fans across New Zealand, understand that New Zealand is incredibly good on a global stage in women's basketball. But the fans just don't get to see the players here because they're carving their career out overseas in other competitions, in colleges, in the Australian leagues. They don't get the chance to come back home and play because the money hasn't been there. It's been offshore. Now, with this partnership, and certainly Sky is playing a leading role in this, which is incredibly exciting for me, you're now going to see that investment there, and you're going to see many of the best Kiwis come home every year and play some basketball here. That's fantastic for the sport.
Would you like to see an equivalent to what they're doing in the Australian NBL, where they have the chance to combine with NBA caliber talent such as RJ Hampton and the like that have now gone on to play for teams like Orlando Magic and the like?
Yeah, I think we've seen a little bit of that in the NBL men here in New Zealand. I mean, Torrey Craig, a great example, carving out an NBA career now and spent some time playing here with the Wellington Saints in New Zealand. So we've seen a little bit of that with the men. I think there's an opportunity for us to see it more with the women in the future as well. Details of the revamped league are about to be released very, very soon. In fact, as we record this, I think they're being released today. So there's going to be more details floating around soon, but it's a short and sharp league. It's a really good window that leads out of the WNBA season and into the WNBL in Australia, into that season. So I think you'll see a lot of players use the opportunity to play here in New Zealand as an opportunity to showcase their wares to those other bigger competitions. We've seen that, in the men's NBL here in New Zealand. At the moment, I think there's 20 Kiwis about to play in the Australian NBL, and a lot of those players are being scooped up out of the Cells NBL here. So, again, yes, great opportunity, and I think over the next couple of years, it wouldn't surprise me if we see some players come through the competition here and go on to some really big and exciting opportunities in those leagues worldwide in women's basketball.
Right, and would you like to see the opposite happen in return, maybe in the future, not for a few years, I would imagine, but in the future, some of the biggest names from the WNBA come over to our league, or maybe because there's not another league in Australia, is there? So we will be the only ones.
Yeah, at that time of the year, the time that we're playing the competition, it won't clash with the Australian WNBL. So there's no competition there for players to come and play here. I think one of the things that is a real carrot to lure that international talent, as well as our own Sky Sport Tall Ferns and Kiwis to come home and play, but especially for that international talent. We have two things going for us with this new revamped competition we're about to see. One is there's some good money. Players are about to be paid at the same level, equally as we see in the men's competition. I mean, that is incredibly exciting for all of those athletes. But for the international athletes, there's a lot of them that would love the chance to come and live and play for a couple of months here in New Zealand. I mean, we all know on that worldwide stage, not just for athletes, but also for the human race, how many people would love to come and see New Zealand. And now, with some good money for these athletes, where they can be paid to come here and perform, they also get the chance probably to cross off their own bucket list the chance to come and see New Zealand at the same time. So I think you're going to see a real opportunity here and a desire for some of these international stars to want to come here and play.
How important is pay parity in this day and age, and of course overall equality when it comes to the rainbow community and the like?
Well, for me, I try and steer well clear of debates. People talking about it being overdue or it's time or anything. I steer right away from that because I just sit here and think everybody should be treated equally. It just doesn't matter. Yeah. My one of my children back in Australia has just transitioned over the last few years. I brought my daughter up, and now I have a son. So, I think we should treat everybody exactly the same. It really, for me, it's a non-debate. I just don't get into any of those conversations. I want everybody to be treated the same, and if that includes money and the way that we look after people and the way that we assist people in everyday life, it should be equal. And that's the way that I deal in business. It's the way that I deal in sport. I'm really excited by this announcement that's come out and the weight that Sky and everybody in my new role has thrown their weight behind it. Because for me, the athletes are the athletes. I don't care what competition they play in, whether it's basketball or any other sport. I want everybody to be treated equally. So it's really exciting.
Now, this next question is sort of a fan moment for me. You'll have to excuse me. Now, I only started watching basketball in lockdown. I didn't really get into it until sort of the first original lockdown. And it gave me a lot of time to get into some more sport that I wasn't already into, as I'm sure it did for a lot of people getting into new things. And I got a chance to listen to, because you're so versatile, I got a chance to listen to some of your commentary. And how does it feel to be, because to me, and I'm not biased here, but and I don't know if you realize it, but you're really good. And,
thank you.
And how does it feel to be in that same way you were? I don't know if you're still going to be in that same arena with the likes of Tony Johnson, Grant Nesbitt, Courtney, all of them.
Oh, look, firstly, thank you for your kind words. It was really a lot of fun for me to go back to my grassroots and do some commentary last year, in the 2021 season. My background is as a commentator. I spent 25 years as a commentator on television and radio in Australia. So it's not new to me. I think for here in New Zealand, there's a lot of people that may have heard some of that commentary last year and and thought that I'd just picked it up on the fly, but that's 25 years of work. So it was a great opportunity for me to go in and broadcast games last year. And even in a role as GM of the NBL at the time, it's not too often you see a person in that role going into a stadium and getting behind the microphone or behind the cameras and performing that role. So it was very unique, and thankfully the basketball community really embraced me doing that. And I'm looking forward to going on and doing that again in 2022. So I'll be on that commentary team again, albeit with a completely different hat on. In fact, such is the uniqueness of some of the staffing changes in the last few weeks that, Hugh Bainan, who used to work for Sky, is now working for the NBL. He's the new general manager of the NBL, of course, and doing a wonderful job. And I've gone from the general manager of the NBL over to Sky as head of commercial and events, but I'll be commentating games as well. So it's a very unique shift. I'm not going to go into a stadium now, Blake, with the weight of the league administration and management on my shoulders. I can just go in and commentate and be a fan. Whereas for Hugh, who will also be commentating some games, he'll get to experience what I went through last year in commentating and then putting the microphone down and having to do all the management as well. So it's very unique that we've seen such a quick shift for the two of us in the last month.
So in short, you can confirm that both you and Hugh will be back.
Yeah, that's the way we're planning it at the moment. Of course, we've got a much broader commentary team than that, and some wonderful people. Andrew Mulligan does an excellent job. I mean, he is the voice of basketball in this country, and I know I learned so much from him. Even 25 years into my broadcasting career, I learned so much from listening and watching Mulls go about his job. It's always a pleasure to sit and watch and listen to him. Casey Frank will be back. He'll probably be involved in more games than any of us. He just does a huge amount of work in his role in the coverage with Sky. Phil Jones, Megan Compain, Donna Wilkins, Miles Pearce, Andrew Dewhurst. I mean, there's just so many great people that we had in that commentary team in 2021. And the good news is that they'll all still be there and be a part of the crew in 2022. It's exciting.
Sadly, I'm not familiar with a lot of those people because I only started watching the league, last year or the year before. So, for me, it's going to be kind of a new experience. I watched mostly you and you.
Look, one thing we're really pleased with, Blake, is, through the ex-players especially. I mean, Dylan Boucher was on the commentary team in 2021. He's now moved into the role of CEO of Basketball New Zealand. So he does have to put the microphone down because he's got a few other things on his plate now. But we are really blessed with a lot of fabulous former players here in New Zealand that can come in and be a part of that commentary team. Former Tall Blacks, former Tall Ferns. I mean, Megan Compain and Donna Wilkins were fabulous players for the Tall Ferns for many, many years. So to have their expertise in the commentary box as well is a great thing for men's and women's basketball in New Zealand.
And do you think that people will respond well to some of those new people who I will get the pleasure of seeing for the first time? They will respond to them as well as they did to you last year. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, one of the great things about basketball as a sport is it's just so much action all the time. It's so quick, it's so exciting. Every player is involved. I mean, every player can score a basket. I know there's some sports out there where certain players can't shoot and score and that sort of stuff. And basketball lends itself well to every player being involved at the offensive end and at the defensive end. So you tune in. There's always something happening. There's always a highlight just around the corner. And the fans are so close. Quite often you'll see a player diving for a ball and they end up 3 rows back with the fans. Things like that. People spilling the popcorn and the drink as they sit there and watch the basketball. So all of those things lend itself to good television. Again, as we mentioned earlier, the beauty about this deal that's been announced is 12 months of the year. Sky Sport really is the home of basketball, and you're going to get to see so much action, whether it be the Breakers, whether it be the NBL men, women, the non-FIBA games for the Tall Blacks, Tall Ferns, and of course the NBA, which is the pinnacle.
Are you confident that the league will be able to pivot as they did last year? From a Sky perspective, not your old role, with the new traffic light system coming into effect as of today as we're recording this?
Yeah, I think so. 2020 was such a surreal year when you look back on it. The NBL won that very coveted Sport New Zealand award for its response to COVID. We had the showdown in 2020. As far as we know, it was the first hub of any type for sport in the world. There was that unique draft that came in, the player draft. So there were a lot of very smart and calculated responses to the situation that the NBL found itself in, all sport found itself in 2020. I think going forward, one of the good things for the NBL is Hugh Bainan, who's now the GM, in the background, played a really key role in working on our team through those times when the league had to pivot. So if it does have to shift a few things around in 2022, he's been a part of that in the past, so he's got experience. I think the other thing that has happened over the last 12 to 18 months, not just for basketball, but we've seen it from rugby and from netball and from cricket, from many other sports out there. Everyone has progressively learnt. Everyone has progressively got better at how to deal with these situations as they arise. None of us want these situations to arise, but we also know and respect within sport, just like other areas of business and the community, that we do have to act and hopefully do so proactively as quickly as we possibly can with the situation that we find ourselves in. So, yeah, I'm confident, not just basketball, Blake, but I think all sports as we go into 2022, I think all sports will be very, very good at the way that they administer and manage the situation.
I'm going to wrap the last couple of questions into one. So, number one, how do you... Sorry, I've gone blank, so I'll just do the other one. How do you think the women team for the Phoenix will go in their first game tonight, and how proud are you to finally have a women's football team, professional one, in our country?
Oh, it's fabulous. I mean, I love all sport. I'll sit there on the couch this Sunday and watch Bathurst. I spent a number of years working in motorsport back in Australia, and it's just great to be able to sit down and watch so many different sports, and I enjoy them all. One thing that is always top of mind for me on a global stage, because the world is very small now when it comes to sport. Years and years ago, it was a lot harder to carve out a career as a player, a coach, a broadcaster, physiotherapists, all sorts of stuff. It was very hard to carve out a career globally. But now the world's a very small place. But the two sports that always ring true as truly global sports are football. In some parts of the world it's called soccer, but football and basketball. I mean, those two sports in particular, as team sports, are played in just about every country across the world. And for New Zealand to now be going up to that next level in regular competition for our women in football, it's incredibly exciting. And I wish them well. I wish them luck. I'm going to be watching on just like everybody else to see how they adapt and how they go and what they learn. And I'm sure there'll be some ups and downs, as there always is, especially early on. But, I'm going to be celebrating those moments and those wins just like the rest of the fans out there. Great opportunity for the players, an incredible stepping stone. We already have Kiwis playing over in England and other parts of the world. And no doubt, we're going to see more of that happen in the future. And this is just another great opportunity to elevate those players into, hopefully long-term international careers.
So, and I'll just pivot back to that other one. So, how do you feel that you were able to be one of the first competitions in the world to show the world that that hub model could work? Also, how does it feel to also be able to now talk about multiple sports in your new role than just, I guess, having to restrict yourself to sort of basketball all the time?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Blake, and it's one I get asked about, or have been asked about quite a bit over the last month. To answer the first one, it probably took me a good year to sit back and truly understand what had been achieved with that NBL showdown in 2020. When we were there and we were in the moment, there was a lot of work, there was a lot of hurdles. There were some people who were outspoken and against it and said that it wouldn't work. One of the greatest challenges in life is change. And it doesn't matter what you do, when change is present, there's always going to be people that attack change through fear of change. And, in the moment at that time in 2020, we had to deal with some of that. A lot of people were right in behind it, but there were definitely people that were against it. And I think once we got to the end of it, and it was such a success that people started to understand just how momentous and how big the challenge was, and the fact that, as a group of, probably except for myself being an Aussie, but as a group of, probably 120 Kiwis that we had involved in that, what an incredible achievement by all of those people to pull that off, to actually do it. And as I said, it probably took me a year before I actually sat back and contemplated the achievement that it was. With regards to the second part of the question, incredibly excited, Blake. I love all sports. I love being around everything. I really look forward to the opportunity in this new role with Sky Sport to be working with all sports. I have a deep passion for women's sport. I spent a lot of time in women's sport back in Australia. Spent a lot of time coaching and doing different things in women's sport also. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that evolve over the coming years. And I'm just really proud that I've moved into a position where my employer, Sky, is incredibly passionate about women's sport as well. So it's a perfect fit for me. It's a hand-in-glove fit, and I'm looking forward to it. I never came here from day one to just work in one sport. I enjoyed what I was able to do in basketball, but now I'm very much looking forward to helping, working with, listening, learning from many other sports here in New Zealand. It's going to be a great challenge and a lot of fun.
Well, I'll get you to stay there for a couple more moments, but to the people watching, I'll say thank you for watching, and Justin, thank you for joining us on the show today. It's been a real pleasure to get to know you a little bit and to learn about some of your career and the league deal and all that entailed with it.
Hey, thank you, Blake, and to everybody out there, just get out there and support Kiwi sport. Enjoy it. If you can turn the TV on and watch it all on Sky, fantastic. If you can get out to the arenas and the fields and the schoolyards and all that sort of stuff, just get outside and enjoy it. As we've seen in the last couple of years, things can change very, very quickly. So I appreciate what we've got and appreciate, all of the wonderful athletes and the boys and the girls that are out there being active and enjoying a great lifestyle. So appreciate it, Blake, and look forward to seeing you around the traps in 2022.
Thank you. And to the viewers, please like and subscribe and turn on that notification bell. Follow me at youtube.com/the BFG podcast. And to the viewers, we'll say see you next time.